I'd like to call the 9/3/19, September 3rd, 19, meeting of the Bowling Green Board of Commissioners to order. If you don't mind to stand, and I'm going to provide us an invocation and lead in the Pledge of Allegiance. So please pray with me if you choose. Lord, thank you for all you provide us and for your eternal love. Please preside over this gathering of community leaders and guide us as we make important decisions for our community. Please be with all those who are in harm's way due to Hurricane Dorian and keep them safe. Please look after all the first responders, emergency management personnel, as well as all the thousands of utility workers and nonprofit volunteers that are traveling across this great country into harm's way to save and serve others. It's in your most gracious name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No, I don't look like Bruce Wilkerson, but I am filling in. He has a family obligation this evening, so if you'll bear with me as I fulfill my Mayor Pro Tem duties here for my first time. Call the roll.
Commissioner Beasley Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Denning.
Here.
Commissioner Nash.
Here.
Commissioner Perigin.
Here.
And Mayor Wilkerson, who is absent.
Okay, we do have a public hearing tonight. We have Laura Thielman from Frost, Brown, and Todd, and Mr. Brian Denning from Western Kentucky University, not related to Joe, from Western Kentucky University to tell us a little bit more about the revenue bonds for the university's project. Thank you all very much for being here.
Thank you again. My name, once again, Laura Thielman. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, from Frost, Brown, Todd. And it's our pleasure to serve as bond counsel to the city and to Western Kentucky University for the Student Life Foundation in connection with some industrial revenue bonds that will be issued to finance the construction of two new dorms, two new residence halls on the campus, 635 living units in a pod-style arrangement, and the project will also entail retiring two of the more vintage dorms, one of which was mine in college, Bemis Lawrence, and then Barnes Campbell. Under the federal tax code, we're required to have a public hearing to afford those in the public an opportunity to provide comment on the proposed project, the scope of the facilities, and the location of those facilities. And the notice of public hearing was published in the Daily News last Tuesday, August the 27th. And so, as I said, the purpose of this meeting is to give any interested member of the public an opportunity to provide comment to you all before you all give this ordinance second reading today. So, looks like a happy bunch, but I don't see anyone raising their hand to participate or have a comment. So, just for purposes of our record, let the record reflect that no individuals were present here today for the public hearing and no public comment was provided. And so our public hearing related to the bond issue is closed. Thank you all.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming. Awards and recognitions.
I have none, Your Honor.
Thank you. I do want to
None
say
come to mind.
another. I know some of us came out and handed certificates to the Bowling Green East Little League with the commissioners and the mayor signed certificates. And I want to say again, on the camera, how proud absolutely proud we are of our Bowling Green East Little League, who made it all the way to Williamsport, Pennsylvania, had an international win, and just made us so very proud in how they handled themselves as true gentlemen, true young men, and again for the Goodnight family and all the prayers that we have that go out to them. So didn't want to let this meeting go without really congratulating them. So can we give them a hand? Thank you. City manager comments, Jeff?
I have none, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Can we have before us the minutes from the August 20th, 2019 meeting of the Board of Commission? Are there any corrections?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Motion by Denning, second by Nash. Please call the roll.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to move to our regular agenda. Municipal order number 2019-150.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid number 2020-10 for the demolition and sinkhole repair contract from Scott and Ritter Incorporated of Bowling Green, Kentucky, in the total amount not to exceed $130,000.
Moved.
Second. Any discussion?
Just one question, Mayor. Mr. Meredith or Mr. Childs?
Either one.
I really don't want either one of you, but
Well, it's the best of what you got.
Get 'em both.
It's not the best, it's the best of what showed up.
are we talking about,
We can argue about that, too.
are we talking about cumulative sinkholes or just one in particular? I didn't quite understand.
No, it's sinkholes that we don't know where they are or how big they are, just like the demolitions. So we elected to do this 3 years ago, and it's worked really well for us, is to have a unit-based bid for work to be performed in the future of an unknown amount. So sinkholes appear that the city has to take care of, and just like demolitions appear through our code enforcement process that we have to take care of. We don't know how big the house is that we're going to demolish. They don't know how big the sinkhole is that they need to repair. So this allows us to go ahead and move forward with work faster. Instead of having to quote those and bid those individually, we already have a unit cost for all different types of equipment, all different types of materials. So whenever we need to demolish a structure or they need to fix a sinkhole, they've got somebody ready to go to expedite that process and move forward with either the demolition or the repair. The reason we put these two together, we've had a demolition contract like this for several years, this unit-based bidding, and then as sinkholes continue to be a reality in this karst environment, we elected to try this out because the people who do sinkhole repair also do demolitions. It's the same equipment. It's an excavator and a dump truck and a bulldozer. It's all the same. So this is the way we're getting a unit cost for that work so that we know how much per hour they're going to charge for that excavator, how much per hour they're going to charge for that dump truck, how much per hour they're going to charge for that bulldozer, and how much we're going to pay for a load of rock or a load of concrete or whatever materials necessary to complete that job.
Killing one bird, as I say, two birds with one stone, one contract for both, as we need it.
So, an individual sinkhole as well as a demolition could be higher for one than the other?
Absolutely. Well, we've got a demolition now that's probably about a 800 square foot house. That's not very expensive, but we could do a demolition in 6 months that's a 2,000 square foot house that's going to be much more expensive. But it also allows us that ability to add other work for lot cleanups or things that need to be done. A sinkhole could be 2 days worth of work, or it could be 3 weeks worth of work. You don't know until the sinkhole appears. But what it does is instead of what Public Works was running into 3 years ago was a sinkhole would appear that they needed to fix, and they didn't really know. They had to bid it or quote it out, but you don't really know how much work it's going to take till you start literally digging it out because you don't know how far down you got to go, how far down you have to go. Now they have those unit costs prescribed on the front end. It's agreed to with the contractor. And Scott and Ritter was our contractor before, and we had really good luck with them. Anything else you want to add, Greg?
All I need.
No, I think that's it.
Go, I'm sorry. Greg? I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I thought you called me up earlier. I'm sorry. What Brent said, and you know, sinkholes, as long as they're small and they're easy to fill and easy to take care of, no problem. This is not going to fill a sinkhole that's like a Dishman Lane collapse, of course. That would be outside the scope of this. But for normal, routine sinkholes that we deal with in Public Works, this is a really good process. So gets them done quicker, you know, addresses safety issues quicker, usually within a day or two. They show up to take care of those. So it's a really good setup, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nash has a question, and Ashley, I apologize. That was a motion by Nash and a second by Beasley Brown.
My question's for Mr. Harmon, and that is, occasionally I am asked to provide by citizens supporting documents, and so we get those in the agenda. In this particular item, there is a sheet that's marked confidential. Does that mean that it's confidential prior to the meeting, or if I were asked, I could release that particular document?
I'm not real sure. I'm going to look at the documents you're seeing. I'm not sure I would call that document. And, you know, normally contracts are not confidential and they're subject to disclosure. There are sometimes some proprietary information that's in it, and I'm sitting here looking at this one. Is this the actual bidder form?
Unit prices.
Okay. Can I give you, like I said, maybe tomorrow to look at it, and I'll give you a firmer answer instead of glancing at it right now? All right, thanks.
Be fine, thank you.
Any other discussion, questions? Please call the roll.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes. Municipal order number 2019-151.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid number 2020-11 for Butler Way sidewalk reconstruction from J.C. Brewer Construction of Bowling Green, Kentucky, in the total amount of $336,549.
Moved.
This one's been in the works for a number of months, but we finally are to the point where we bid out the sidewalk construction for Butler Way from College View Drive to Durbin Drive. We're going to do 1,430 linear feet of sidewalk, including curb and gutter, a 5-foot sidewalk, ADA handicap ramps, any concrete drive entrances needed, utility relocation, the whole shebang. And we went out for bid. We got 5 bids. J.C. Brewer Construction came in with the lowest price at $336,549, and we were recommending to use them for this project. And Greg is here for if you have any questions on this.
Anybody have any questions? Ashley, again, that was a motion by Nash and second by Denning. Call the roll.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes. Municipal order number 2019-152.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting the purchase of 11 additional Dodge Chargers for the Police Department Administration Division under bid number 2019-31 from Gilly Hyde Chrysler Incorporated of Glasgow, Kentucky, in the total amount of $259,171.
Second.
Motion by Nash, second by Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel?
And to cover this item and the next one, if that's okay, all at once. They're both related, but we are in need of replacing some police admin vehicles, as well as getting some additional police cruisers. We had the option on the last bid with with Gilly Hyde Chrysler to purchase more vehicles within a 12-month time frame at a locked-in price. I think we did those last October, November. Here we are at September, so we're within that 12 months. And so we were able to grab the $23,561 price per vehicle for the admin Dodge Chargers. We're going to buy 11 of those, and we were able to keep the $25,170 price for the cruisers, and we're going to buy 3 of those at $25,170 apiece. So your total price is the $259,171 on this municipal order plus the $75,510. Major Josh Hughes is here tonight and has worked on this project, can answer any questions you have on this purchase. But we're recommending to take advantage of the old bid from Gilly Hyde at the same price, plus we're getting 2020 models on the vehicles.
Do we repurpose the vehicles that we are replacing? Okay, so we get some revenue back from them. Thank you. Okay, please call, any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
These 11, they're just, I'll say, plain cars, no police package to them?
Admin vehicles have the unmarked package, so they do have blue lights and sirens. They're just in the vehicle instead of on top of the vehicle.
Okay, but they have same size motor?
Admin motor is V6, whereas the police package is a V8.
Please call the roll.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes. Municipal order number 219-153 that Mr. Meisel's already told us about.
So moved?
She's got to
Oh,
read it.
got to read.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting the purchase of 3 additional Dodge Chargers for the Police Department Patrol Division under bid number 2019-32 from Gilly Hyde Chrysler Incorporated of Glasgow, Kentucky, in the total amount of $75,510.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Nash, second by Beasley Brown. Please call the roll. Or does anybody have any questions other than what we just discussed on the last item?
Just one.
Okay.
Josh, what has been the evaluation of these Dodge Chargers to date as far as police work?
We have experienced a little bit of trouble with the 2013 Dodge Chargers. Of course, they are now 6 years old, but that issue seems to be fixed. The 2014, we have 28 of those vehicles, and we have not had a single problem with any of the 2014 vehicles.
Else? Thank you. Please call the roll.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes. Municipal order number 2019-154.
Municipal order authorizing submission of an application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for funding under fiscal year 2019 Mainstream Voucher Program.
Second.
Motion by Denning, second by Nash.
NCS Housing Division has an opportunity to grab 100 more vouchers called through the FY19 Mainstream Vouchers Program from HUD. This grant program is to provide housing opportunities to the non-elderly but disabled that are out there. Right now we have, I think, 170 out there on the waiting list. This would provide 100 vouchers. It would equate to about $483,000. There's no match required to this. These are for non-elderly disabled between the ages of 18 and 62. And as I mentioned, they're currently 170 waiting, so this could get 100 of those in housing. And it also requires the city to achieve an 80% utilization rate of these vouchers within the first year. So we would be well on our way placing those. This would bring the city's total vouchers. Right now we're at 616, and this would make it get it to 716, and provide long-term housing opportunities for the elderly. I'm sorry, non-elderly disabled. And Brent Childers is here, can answer any detailed questions you have on this.
Glad to hear 62 is non-elderly. It's good news for
Yeah.
me.
18 to 62.
Great news.
Anybody have any questions for Brent while he's here?
I do.
Congratulations, this is great.
Did I understand, Mr. Meisel, correctly, that we have 172 disabled persons that are on a waiting list right now for Section 8 housing?
That's correct. We'd have 172 that would be eligible on our waiting list that we believe would be eligible for this.
Okay. So will we play kind of a shift, will we go through a shifting process to move some that are on traditional Section 8 housing that we have right now to these vouchers that will allow those to be, no, don't need to do that?
We would pull from that pool that's already on the waiting list. We have to pull from that existing out there. We can't just shift. If we have 616 out there right now, vouchers out in the marketplace, and we had 100 that would also qualify, we couldn't shift those over. These would have to be new leasees as part of that. So that's why we looked at our waiting list to determine what is our kind of market size that we could lease up in a year. And that's where because we had to hit that 80% mark within a 1-year period. And that's why we chose 100 based on 176 and our typical utilization rate whenever we pull off the waiting list. And we felt comfortable at that number. Now, it'll all come down to how many HUD says yes to.
Right.
This is just an application. Want to make sure everybody knows. But this was an opportunity that they put out there, and we're trying to take advantage of to expand our housing division, provide more assistance to people, and also expand our program.
There's no benefit if somebody's on a traditional housing voucher now to move, and they meet these criteria, to moving them over to that
Be
particular
the same for
voucher.
the individual user. They
Thank
wouldn't notice a difference.
All right, thank you so much.
Any other questions?
I have a follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I just forgot my follow-up question.
Happens. You're under 62.
While you're thinking, can I ask a question?
You're not
Yes,
elderly.
please do, so I can
So-
remember it.
So, Brent, can you tell us about how long it takes to get somebody processed in one of
If
these?
somebody was going to put their name on the list today with no preferences, nothing that would bump them up the list, we're at about 750 on the waiting list right now. I would estimate 2.5 to 3.5 years probably. There's a lot of factors that go into it. There's a lot of variables that go into it, but we're talking multiple years that it would take somebody to start at the bottom of the list and work their way all the way to the top.
But how fast do you think you can fill up these 100?
We feel
that you-
confident we could hit the 80% mark within the first 12 months, based on what we already have out there. And then after that, it's maintaining. If we were awarded 100, which we hope to be, then it would just be maintaining, because there's always a loss in the program. Then it would just be maintaining, so then we might have to maintain 10 a year, 12 a year. Then you're just maintaining that number, which is a lot easier. Did you think of your question?
Yes, I remembered it.
Okay.
So what is the timeline for this grant application, and when might we know if we received it?
We'll be submitting next week, so we're right at the deadline for submission, but we've got everything done. This was our last step, was really to bring it to you all for support. And then we're hoping to hear back by October, I think is the date. Some early fall. This is not a 2-year time period. This should hit pretty quick if we're awarded. It all comes down to what HUD says.
And we can just immediately start offering those, or is there a particular window when we do that each year? Very first, okay.
And then we would start with that, trying to hit that 80% mark by a 12-month period. So, anything else? Thank you all.
Please call the roll.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes. Municipal order number 2019-155.
Municipal order authorizing the submission of an application through the Kentucky Fire Commission Thermal Imaging Camera Grant Program in an amount up to $3,200 for the fire department.
Moved.
Second?
Fire department would like to apply for a grant to fund thermal imaging camera for our new Lover's Lane station that will be going up. This is a 50% match, but the cameras are roughly $6,400, so we would pay half, and then the Fire Commission, Kentucky Fire Commission, would cover the other half. These cameras are very important, crucial tools for firefighters to see through the smoke, monitor the spread of a fire, and be able to visualize a plan of attack and locate hot spots, locate people that may be in the structure fire. And Jason, Chief Colson is here today, can answer any detailed questions you have about this grant, but recommend approval to apply for this money.
Have any questions from the chief?
I have one question. So I saw that it was required for the new station, but do any of our current ones already have it, or?
Yeah, we currently have 10 thermal imaging cameras, one on every engine or every apparatus that we have, and we also have a backup camera.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else? Please call the roll.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes. Municipal order number 2019-156.
Municipal order authorizing a subrecipient agreement between the City of Bowling Green and Bowling Green Human Rights Commission for Year 16 Community Development Block Grant Program, funding in the amount of $34,000.
Moved.
Motion by Nash, second by Denning. Thank you.
Back in May, NCS brought forward to you the Year 16 CDBG action plan. We have to do that annually, and within that plan, we talked about partnering with the Human Rights Commission. So we're right now, before tonight, to bring this to you, we're going to recommend award of $34,000 for the program that they run for the Fair Housing Education Outreach Program. They assist citizens in filling and resolving housing discrimination complaints through mediation, education, and counseling, and they expect to serve about 2,000 people with this. So recommending carving out the CDBG funding of $34,000 and awarding that to Bowling Green Human Rights Commission. Nick Cook is here, along with Brent Childers, if you have any questions on this.
Comments or questions?
I have some questions. I would actually like to direct them to the Human Rights Commission since they're also present as well. Alice? Thank you for communicating with me earlier today. As I was looking through the materials related to this item, going to websites and looking at different things, I want to make sure that I'm correct, that Kentucky's fair housing law forbids discrimination in housing because of a person's race, color, religion, national origin, sex, disability, or family status. Earlier in this particular term, I introduced what has become called a fairness ordinance concerning housing discrimination and employment discrimination against the LGBTQ plus community. One of the complaints or arguments against that particular ordinance was that there is no documented proof that there's actually a problem amongst LGBTQ people finding or running into housing discrimination. My question as it relates to this particular program is, if an LGBTQ person comes to you with a housing complaint based upon their sexual orientation, do you take a complaint? Is there anything that you can do to document that to show proof of a problem?
We can only document it, but we have no recourse as far as helping that individual with the problem. So when we do get them, even if they're in employment or public accommodation, we do document those just for the record, but there's nothing we can do about it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Anybody else? Call the roll.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes. Municipal order number 2019-157.
Municipal order authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into grant agreements for select neighborhood action program grants with various neighborhoods.
Second.
Motion by Nash, second by Denning. Mr. Mizel.
It's hard to believe that we've had this program for 21 years, but it's a really, really one of the best programs we've done locally, I believe, for our neighborhoods. But we are here tonight for another round of SNAP grants, Select Neighborhood Action Program grants, and we've got $54,599 we're proposing to award to 11 different recipients. Those are listed in your packets. We had a $40,000 budget, but we had some carryover from a prior year or prior years that we were able to award all 11 applications some money of some level, maybe not gotten all that they requested, but they got some, and that's listed in your packets, along with details of the projects they're wanting to do in their neighborhoods. Karen is here tonight, Karen Foley with NCS, and can answer any of your questions you may have on these.
Question only.
Questions or comments?
Just a comment.
Sure.
I think it's fantastic that citizens, this is a citizen-driven project, in that people identify what the issue is in their own neighborhood, and they identify ways to fill it. I think that's always better than government to the people, rather people always to the government. And so I commend the citizens who participate in the SNAP grant process. But I also want to commend Karen Foley, who I think, I don't know how well this program would run without her. It would likely run in some capacity, but I think it runs as well as it runs because of the amount of effort and interest that Karen invests into it. So I think a lot of times we take for granted that things like this just happen, or that programs like this just roll out, and we see the good work on the end when the money is awarded, and then when the project finally comes to fruition and you can see that tangible thing, but that tangible item, but there is an awful lot of work that goes on behind the scenes on an everyday basis in order to keep this process moving, and Karen does that every day. Thank you.
I'm going to make Karen come up and ask her a hard question after all that. It won't be so hard. I just want everybody to understand and know that this is money that the city has put aside for smaller projects within their neighborhoods. But when I want everybody to know and to confirm with you that you do not have to be a formalized neighborhood association to apply for these, correct?
That is correct. And in fact, we have very loosely organized neighbors that get together just for the purpose of doing a project. And we also have very formal homeowners associations that also apply. So it really runs the gamut from small groups to larger groups. And we do have some of our groups who are represented today who has shown up. So I want to thank them for the effort that they put in to writing these applications, because most of them are not professional grant writers, and we try to make it easy, but they do have to put the time and the work and the effort into it. So I just want to thank them for doing it, and thank the commission and our city management for continuing to make this investment every year. This is the 21st time I've got to stand here before SNAP grants were awarded. So it's very rewarding for our neighbors.
Can I
And
ask
thank
one
you.
other follow-up question
Yes.
to this, so that the citizens that are out there going, oh, my street might get together next year, when does the application, I'm assuming it comes onto the website, and they can
Yes.
access that through the website. When should they start looking for that?
I would, actually, if they're interested now, I would suggest they go to the city's website at bgky.org and look for the tab that says residents, and from there, go to neighborhoods, and from there, click on SNAP Grant, because we have our program guidelines and our application that we use this year. It doesn't change hugely from year to year, but if they would check that out, and if they would sign up for our e-newsletter, they will get notice of all of our trainings that we offer. They will get notice whenever all of that information is updated at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the spring, when we put that information out there, and they will know as soon as that application is live and ready for them to use for next year.
That concludes our public service announcement. Thank you,
That's right.
Karen. Appreciate it.
Have to get
That's
that
all
in.
really good information. I know there's a lot of neighborhoods and that aren't homeowners associations that
That's
are
right.
like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. So
Deadline is typically in July.
thank you very much for that. Okay, call the roll?
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes. Municipal order number 2019-158.
Municipal order approving construction and accepting maintenance of Moss Meadows subdivision, Section 2.
Second?
Motion by Nash, second by Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel?
We had a request from the developer of the Moss Meadows subdivision, Section 2, to accept that neighborhood under city maintenance based on ordinance 21-3.04. You guys are required to officially accept that, so we have gone out, Public Works along with Planning and Zoning have gone out and inspected that neighborhood, that subdivision, for compliance and conformance with plans, and everything was okay and approved, passed judgment, and so there are roughly 3,612 feet of roadway, adjacent sidewalk and right-of-way, along with storm sewer in that section. And this is a neighborhood out near our Preston Miller Water Park that backs up close to the Natural Parkway. There's a map in your packets if you want to look at that. So we're recommending acceptance of this neighborhood for city maintenance.
Questions or comments?
Greg is here if you have any questions.
Questions or comments, guys? Call the roll.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes. Municipal order number 2019-159.
Municipal order approving construction and accepting maintenance of Creekwood Village subdivision, Section 2.
Moved?
Second?
Motion by Nash, second by Beasley Brown.
Same story, just adjacent neighborhood over near the last one. We're looking at 2,695 linear feet of roadway here with adjacent sidewalk, right-of-way, storm sewer. This one was also inspected on the same day, July 19th, by the Planning and Zoning and Public Works staff, and passed all conformance and ready to be accepted. And Greg can answer questions on this one as well.
Questions or comments?
If necessary.
Just one. Greg, who is the developer on both of these projects?
I think on both of these, it was James Cook.
I have a question as well. So I know the county typically partners with WKU to do these bonds in the past, or I think I remember that. Oh, that's the next, oh, sorry.
This next one.
Where-
This is subdivision acceptance.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I
that's okay.
Moved, sorry,
Okay.
go ahead.
Hold your question to the next one.
Yes, thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Okay, call the roll.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes. Ordinance number BG 2019-37. This is a second reading regarding the Student Life Foundation and our industrial revenue bonds. So, Mr. Meisel.
Commissioner,
First, please.
I'm sorry.
Ordinance providing for issuance of industrial building revenue bonds. An ordinance of the City of Bowling Green, Kentucky authorizing the issuance of its industrial building revenue bond, Series 2019, WKU Student Life Foundation Incorporated project, in one or more series in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $42 million, the proceeds of which shall be loaned to the WKU Student Life Foundation Incorporated to finance capital additions and improvements and other related action.
Questions or comments?
I need a motion
We need a
and a
motion
second,
and a second, I'm
please.
sorry.
Second?
Thank you. Motion by Denning, second by Beasley Brown. We sure do, Miss Bruce. Questions or comments?
A couple, I guess.
Mr. Denning?
This goes to Mr. Denon and to the city manager. What is the difference between these bonds and the bonds we sold to renovate Diddle Arena?
They are similar. These bonds will be run through the Student Life Foundation, which is an organization set up to run the residence halls at WKU. And it's all self-supported though, so the fees, residence hall fees that the students pay will go to make these bond payments. So the city has no obligation, similar to the Diddle Arena bonds that were previously done in 2001 or 2002. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Hey,
In
Katie.
other words, two different projects, I guess, or entities
And two different entities that
are
are.
paying for the bonds
That's correct.
separately.
That's correct.
This one for Student Life Foundation is what we call conduit debt. It's just a pass-through. We can get a tax-exempt, lower interest rate on the bonds for the Student Life Foundation than what they could go out and get themselves. In the past, they have used the county, but they're coming to us this time. The county had some bank-qualified money that they still were going to finance or later this year. And if they had done this deal before they did their own business, it would have knocked them out of their bank-qualified financing later this calendar year. So, but these are, like Brian said, these are backed by the revenues that come into Student Life Foundation, whereas the GO, it was a general obligation debt for Diddle Arena bonds. It was under the City of Bowling Green's name. We had a memorandum of agreement with WKU to pay that dollar for dollar, which they've always done, and that is on our debt, that's on our books, but this one will not be on our books as debt. Katie, do you have anything to add?
No, that's.
As long as we've got students at Western that are paying tuition, then these bonds are gonna be covered.
That's correct. And the city is under no obligation, even if there were no students to show up. The city's.
That's a good thing.
The city's still under no obligation. You're just, we're using the city as a conduit to finance these just to get a lower rate. But
Bondholders would come after Brian,
yeah, that's right.
and
He's got it.
More questions?
Mine was a follow-up to the fact that you usually use the county and are now coming to the city. And so my question is, do we what type of projects would we have where we would want to have that same flexibility in terms of available for that sort of thing that we would not if we entered into this agreement?
We had already obligated our bank qualified rate basically to BGMU when they issued the bonds earlier this spring. So when we issued bonds on behalf of BGMU, that took the city's bank qualified bonds at that point, that $10 million, basically tied it up in that $60-some million bond issue. So there was no issue at all for us to be able to do this particular industrial revenue bond issue on behalf of the Student Life Foundation. Whereas with Warren County, they hadn't done any other financing or bond issues previously this year, and they would still like to do some projects. It's a calendar year setup, so starting January 1, if we have any projects that we would like to finance down the road, we would still then be able to access that $10 million.
That this does not impact our ability to do that beyond this year?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was a commitment that the Student Life Foundation made to make sure this was done before the end of this calendar year, so it wouldn't obligate your $10 million for 2020.
Further questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes. Ordinance number BG 2019-38.
Ordinance relating to property tax rates. Ordinance setting 2019 property tax rates, franchise tax rates, and improvement assessment rates, and setting forth guidelines for payment, penalty, and interest.
Second?
Motion by Nash, second by Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel?
I have no further comments. Again, just want to remind everyone that we are not raising our rate. We're keeping it at .205 per $100. Same as last year. Before that, we were at 206. We had to lower it, but we were at 206 for a long, long time. So we have not raised our property tax, I don't think, since 2003. So,
About 16 years we're holding steady.
yes, and we are basically relying on the natural assessment growth. And I think Katie is working on the bills now. You want to give a kind of update on when those would be out?
We're waiting on the property valuation office to provide to us the actual assessment listing. Once we have that in hand, we have to kind of organize it and get it together so that we can issue bills. We're anticipating to have those issued the first week or so of October. And as Mr. Mizel said, they'll be due December 31st. And then every property owner that's in Warren County will at least get a Warren County tax bill. But if you're also in the city limits, you get a City of Bowling Green tax bill. So they have to pay both, and they're paid, one obviously to the city and the other to the Warren County.
Our prosperity is a good thing, keeping our taxes low. Ordinance number call the roll.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes. Ordinance number BG 2019-39.
Ordinance annexing right-of-way by consent. Ordinance annexing 0.491 acre of right-of-way located on Cemetery Road at the intersection of Brightway Drive and Indian Hills Drive, presently owned by the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, with said territory being contiguous to existing city limits.
Second.
Motion by Denning, second by Nash. Any questions or comments? This is a second reading. Please call the roll.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes. I don't think we have any public comments. I'm not sure. Thank you, Ashley. Okay, so no public comments this evening. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Our next scheduled meeting is September 17th, 2019 at 4:30. This meeting is adjourned.
Great job, Mayor.